Hey Aries, welcome back. So today I pulled cards for you around this really powerful theme about energetic surrender, and honestly, what came through is pretty profound. I just want to sit here and share what the universe is showing me about your energy right now because there's something really significant happening for you. You know that feeling when you've been pushing and forcing things for so long and it just feels exhausting? That's kind of where this reading starts. The universe has some really important messages about what happens when you finally release that tight grip you've been holding on to everything with. So let me just dive right in because the first card I pulled is already telling me so much about where you are right now. The High Priestess came through. First, and I have to tell you, this card appearing right at the beginning is really significant. She's sitting here showing me that you've been operating from this place of trying to control outcomes, trying to figure everything out with your logical mind, and honestly, Aries, your intuition has been screaming at you, but you haven't been listening. The High Priestess is all about that inner knowing, that quiet voice that whispers truth when everything else is loud and chaotic. What I'm seeing here is that you've been so focused on making things happen, on being the warrior, on charging forward because that's your nature, right? But there's this deeper wisdom inside you that's been trying to get your attention. She's telling me that surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting that inner voice that already knows the way. You've been asking for signs, looking for clarity, but the truth is you already have the answers inside you. The energetic surrender that's being asked of you right now is to stop seeking validation outside yourself and start trusting what you feel in your gut. I'm seeing that when you finally tune into this intuitive knowing instead of forcing your way through with sheer willpower, everything starts to shift. The High Priestess is showing me that there's mystery unfolding for you right now, things happening behind the scenes that you can't see yet. Your job isn't to control it or rush it. Your job is to trust it. This is about learning to be still in a way that probably feels really uncomfortable for your fire sign energy. What's really interesting is how this connects to your relationships too. The High Priestess is revealing that you've been trying to logic your way through emotional situations when really you need to feel your way through them. There's someone or something in your life right now where you keep analyzing, overthinking, trying to predict and control, but she's saying drop into your body, drop into your heart, listen to what your soul already knows. That's the surrender she's asking for. Now, the second card that came out is the Four of Wands, and this honestly made me smile because it's like the universe is showing you what's waiting on the other side of this surrender. Four of Wands is celebration. It's stability. It's home. It's that feeling of finally arriving somewhere you've been working toward. But here's the thing, Aries. You can't force your way to this energy. This card is telling me that the celebration, the stability, the happy outcome you've been chasing so hard, it comes when you stop chasing. I'm seeing this beautiful image of you finally relaxing into life instead of battling with it. Four of Wands is about creating a foundation, and right now the message is that you're trying to build on shaky ground because you're moving too fast, pushing too hard. When you surrender to divine timing, when you allow things to unfold naturally, that's when the real stability comes in. This could be about a relationship reaching a new level of commitment. It could be about your living situation finally feeling like home. It could be about your work life reaching a point where you feel secure and celebrated. What I love about this card showing up here is that it's proof that surrender doesn't mean you lose anything. Actually, it means you gain everything you've been working for, but it comes in easier, more naturally, with more joy than you've been experiencing. You've been white-knuckling your way through life, and the Four of Wands is saying, hey, you can relax now, you can enjoy the journey. You can trust that the destination is secured. There's also this message about community and support here. The Four of Wands shows people coming together in celebration, and I'm seeing that when you stop trying to do everything alone, when you surrender to accepting help and allowing others in, that's when the magic happens. Your independent Aries nature wants to prove you can handle everything yourself, but this card is gently reminding you that you don't have to. Surrender to being supported. Surrender to celebrating small wins instead of only acknowledging the big achievements. The third card is the Ace of Swords, and okay, this is interesting because Swords energy is about mental clarity and truth. What's coming through really strongly here is that the energetic surrender you're being called into is going to bring you this massive breakthrough in understanding. Like suddenly everything that's been confusing is going to make sense. The Ace of Swords is that moment of absolute clarity, that lightning bolt of truth that cuts through all the fog. I'm seeing that you've been stuck in your head a lot, going in circles with your thoughts, trying to figure everything out mentally. But the Ace of Swords appearing here is telling me that when you surrender the need to understand everything right now, when you stop trying to force clarity, that's exactly when clarity comes rushing in. It's like you've been gripping a puzzle piece so tightly trying to make it fit, and the moment you relax your hand and let go, you suddenly see exactly where it belongs. This card is also about communication and new ideas. There's something you need to say or express that you've been holding back, maybe because you're trying to control how it's received or what the outcome will be. The Ace of Swords is encouraging you to surrender to speaking your truth without attachment to the response. Say what needs to be said, express what needs to be expressed, and trust that the right people will understand and the wrong people don't need to. What's really powerful about this card is that it represents the beginning of a whole new way of thinking for you. When you practice energetic surrender, you're literally rewiring your brain to operate from trust instead of control. You're learning to cut through your own limiting beliefs and mental patterns that have kept you stuck. This is about mental liberation, about freeing yourself from the anxiety that comes from trying to manage every possible outcome. I'm also seeing with the Ace of Swords that there's going to be a conversation or a realization that serves as a turning point for you. Something someone says, or something you suddenly understand about yourself or your situation, is going to shift everything. But it only comes through the clarity that surrender brings. You can't think your way to this breakthrough. You have to feel your way there by letting go. The King of Wands showed up fourth, and honestly, Aries, this is so perfect for you because this is your energy card. The King of Wands is confident, passionate, a natural leader, someone who knows what they want and goes after it. But here's what's interesting about this card appearing in a reading about surrender. The King of Wands energy, when it's balanced, is actually someone who leads with vision but trusts their team, who takes bold action but also knows when to step back and let things unfold. What I'm picking up is that you've been in this immature version of Wands energy, which is all force and no flow. You've been trying to control every aspect of every situation because you're scared of what might happen if you're not in charge. But the King of Wands is showing you what you become when you surrender that death grip on control. You become even more powerful, even more magnetic, even more effective as a leader in your own life. This card is telling me that energetic surrender doesn't make you weak, it actually makes you stronger. When you trust yourself enough to let go, when you're confident enough in your vision to allow it to manifest in its own timing and its own way, that's when you step into true King of Wands energy. This is mature, masculine energy that knows how to balance action with patience, passion with peace, drive with trust. I'm seeing that there's a project or goal you've been working on where you've been trying to micromanage every detail. And the King of Wands is saying your job is to hold the vision and take inspired action, but you don't need to control how it all comes together. Delegate, trust others, trust the process, trust that your creative fire is enough to keep things moving without you having to force every single step. There's also a message here about passion and purpose. The King of Wands lives from his heart, from his authentic desire, from his creative fire. When you surrender trying to do what you think you should do and instead follow what genuinely lights you up, that's when you embody this King energy. Stop pushing yourself down paths that don't feel aligned just because they seem logical or safe. Surrender to following your passion even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Now the fifth card is the Nine of Wands, and this one hit me because I can feel how tired you are. The Nine of Wands is the card of the warrior who's been through battle after battle, who's still standing but barely, who has one more challenge to face but isn't sure they have the energy for it. Aries, you've been fighting for so long. You've been defending your position, protecting yourself, pushing through obstacles, and you're exhausted. The Nine of Wands appearing here is validating everything you've been through. Yes, it's been hard. Yes, you've had to be strong. Yes, you've faced more challenges than you thought you could handle. But here's what this card is telling you about surrender. You don't have to fight anymore. That defensive stance you've been in, those walls you've built up, that hypervigilance about what might go wrong next, you can put it down now. I'm seeing that you've developed this pattern of expecting struggle, of bracing yourself for the next hit, of not allowing yourself to fully relax because you think you need to stay ready for whatever comes next. The Nine of Wands is saying that this survival mode has served you, it's gotten you through some really tough times, but it's not serving you anymore. The energetic surrender being asked of you is to release this battle mentality and allow yourself to receive ease. What's coming through really clearly is that you're actually safe now, even though your nervous system hasn't caught up yet. You keep preparing for fights that aren't coming. You keep protecting yourself from threats that don't exist anymore. The Nine of Wands is encouraging you to lower your defenses, to trust that you don't need to be on guard all the time, to surrender to the possibility that things can actually be easy for a while. This card is also showing me that there's one final push, one more thing you need to release or let go of before you can truly rest. It might be a belief about yourself, it might be a relationship pattern, it might be a way of operating that used to protect you, but now just keeps you stuck. Whatever it is, the Nine of Wands is saying you have the strength to face it, but you don't have to face it alone, and you don't have to face it with the same old fighting energy. Surrender to a softer approach. The Death card came through 6th, and okay, before you panic, this is actually really beautiful. Death in tarot is never about physical death. It's about transformation, about endings that make space for new beginnings, about the kind of change that's so complete that you emerge as a different person. And in a reading about energetic surrender, this makes so much sense because surrender is a kind of death. It's the death of control, the death of who you used to be, the death of old patterns and ways of being. What I'm seeing with the Death card is that you've been holding on to a version of yourself that you've outgrown. Maybe it's the version that needs to be strong all the time, or the version that can't ask for help, or the version that has to have all the answers. The Death card is telling you that this version of you is dying, and that's a good thing. You're being reborn into someone who understands that true strength includes vulnerability, that wisdom includes admitting you don't know, that power includes surrender. This is about letting old identities fall away. You've been trying to keep everything alive, keep all your options open, keep all your old ways of being intact while also trying to grow, and the Death card is saying you can't do both. Something has to die for something new to be born. Energetic surrender means allowing these natural deaths to happen without clinging, without trying to resurrect what needs to stay buried. I'm also picking up that there's a specific situation in your life that has already ended, even though you're still acting like it's alive. Maybe it's a relationship that's really over, but you keep trying to revive it. Maybe it's a career path that no longer serves you, but you're scared to let it go. Maybe it's a dream that needs to transform into something else. The Death card is asking you to surrender to this ending, to grieve it fully, and then to turn around and see what new life is waiting to emerge. What's powerful about death showing up here is that it promises transformation. When you truly surrender to letting go of what's no longer meant for you, you make space for something so much better to come in. This isn't loss, even though it might feel like it right now. This is evolution. This is your soul shedding old skin so it can grow into its next version. The 7th card is Judgment, and wow, this is about spiritual awakening and renewal. Judgment is that moment when you hear the call, when you wake up to a higher understanding of yourself and your life, when you're reborn into a new level of consciousness. After the Death card clearing away what's old, Judgment comes in to show you rising from those ashes completely transformed. What's coming through strongly with this card is that there's a reckoning happening for you right now. You're being called to account for your life, not in a judgmental way, but in a way that asks you to look honestly at where you are and how you got here. The energetic surrender here is about accepting your past without shame, owning your choices without regret, and forgiving yourself for everything you think you did wrong. Judgment is about self-forgiveness and self-acceptance at the deepest level. I'm seeing that you've been harsh with yourself, critical of your mistakes, angry at yourself for not knowing better or doing better. The Judgment card is bringing this huge wave of compassion and understanding. It's helping you see that every experience, every choice, every mistake was exactly what needed to happen to bring you to this moment of awakening. When you surrender the need to judge yourself or your past, you free yourself to step into your future completely unburdened. This card is also about answering a higher calling. There's something your soul came here to do, some purpose that's bigger than your daily concerns, and the Judgment card is saying it's time to rise up and answer that call. But you can only do this if you surrender your smaller self, your ego self, your fearful self. The energetic surrender being asked of you is to let your higher self take the lead, to trust the spiritual path you're being guided onto, even if it doesn't make logical sense. What I love about Judgment appearing here is that it's telling me you're being given a second chance. A clean slate, a fresh start. Everything that came before is being washed clean. You get to decide who you want to be going forward without being limited by who you've been. This is such a powerful gift, but you have to surrender to it. You have to let go of your old story about yourself and embrace this new chapter that's beginning. The Judgment card is also showing me that there are people or situations from your past that are coming back around for healing or closure. Not necessarily to restart things, but to complete them in a new way, with your new level of awareness. When you surrender to this process, when you allow these full circle moments to happen, you'll feel a completion and peace that you haven't felt before. The eighth card is the Seven of Swords, and this one is interesting because it's often about deception or sneaky behavior. But in the context of energetic surrender, I'm seeing something different. I'm seeing that you've been trying to outsmart the universe, trying to find shortcuts, trying to get what you want without fully committing or without being completely honest about what you're doing or why you're doing it. The Seven of Swords is revealing that there's been some self-deception happening. Maybe you've been telling yourself a story about what you want or what you need that isn't completely true. Maybe you've been trying to have it both ways, keeping one foot in the old while reaching for the new. Maybe you've been operating from strategy instead of authenticity, trying to manipulate outcomes instead of trusting the process. What's coming through is that this approach hasn't been working, has it? You've been exhausting yourself trying to stay 10 steps ahead, trying to plan for every contingency, trying to protect yourself from disappointment by not fully investing in anything. The Seven of Swords is asking you to surrender this way of operating. Stop trying to outsmart life. Stop trying to hedge your bets. Stop keeping escape routes and backup plans for everything. I'm also seeing that there's something you've been hiding from yourself or others that needs to come into the light. Not in a shameful way, but in a liberating way. When you surrender to being completely honest and transparent, when you stop trying to control how people perceive you, when you stop strategizing every interaction, you actually become more powerful and more magnetic. The energy you've been using to maintain these strategies could be put toward actually creating what you want. The Seven of Swords can also indicate stolen wisdom or borrowed ideas. Are you living someone else's version of success? Are you chasing goals that aren't really yours? The energetic surrender here is to stop trying to be what you think you should be and start being who you actually are. Drop the mask, drop the act, drop the careful presentation, and just be real. That's where your true power lies. The ninth card is the Seven of Pentacles, and this is all about patience and waiting for your harvest. You've planted seeds, you've done the work, and now you're in this waiting period where you can see growth happening, but you can't yet reap the rewards. The Seven of Pentacles is showing me that you've been getting restless, maybe even doubting whether your efforts will pay off, wondering if you should abandon what you've started and try something else. This card appearing in a reading about energetic surrender is really telling you to trust the process of growth. You can't make a plant grow faster by pulling on it. You can't force fruit to ripen before it's time. There's a natural cycle to manifestation, to growth, to achievement, and you're being asked to surrender to that timing. What you've been working toward is developing exactly as it should. But it needs more time. I'm seeing that you've been checking in obsessively on your progress, constantly evaluating whether things are moving fast enough, comparing yourself to others who seem to be further along. The Seven of Pentacles is asking you to stop interrupting the growth process with your doubt and impatience. Trust that what you've planted is growing strong roots underground even if you can't see dramatic results yet. Surrender to the natural timing of your harvest. This card is also about assessment and sometimes course correction. Maybe you're looking at what you've been investing your time and energy in and realizing that some of it isn't aligned with what you truly want. The Seven of Pentacles gives you permission to redirect your efforts, but from a place of wisdom rather than panic. You don't have to abandon everything and start over. You just need to make thoughtful adjustments. What's really beautiful about this card is that it promises that your efforts will pay off. You will have your harvest. You will see the fruits of your labor. But only if you can surrender the need to see results immediately. Only if you can trust that everything you've been doing is accumulating value even when you can't see it yet. This is about having faith in the invisible work that's happening beneath the surface. The 10th and final card is the Queen of Pentacles, and honestly, this is the perfect card to end on because she represents grounded abundance, practical magic, nurturing energy, and being deeply rooted in the physical world while also being connected to spiritual wealth. The Queen of Pentacles is someone who has mastered the art of surrender because she understands that when you take care of the present moment, the future takes care of itself. What I'm seeing with this card is that all of this energetic surrender you're being asked to practice leads you to this place of complete abundance and security. Not the kind of security that comes from controlling everything, but the kind that comes from being so aligned with your true self and so trusting of the universe that you know you'll always be provided for. The Queen of Pentacles doesn't worry about the future because she's focused on creating beauty and abundance in the now. This card is showing me that when you surrender, when you stop forcing and start flowing, you actually become more successful and abundant. The Queen of Pentacles is prosperous not because she hustles and grinds, but because she works in harmony with natural cycles, because she nurtures what matters, because she's generous with her gifts and trusts that generosity comes back to her multiplied. I'm also seeing that the Queen of Pentacles represents you coming home to yourself. She's comfortable in her own skin, confident in her worth, unapologetic about her needs and desires. This is who you become when you surrender trying to be anyone other than yourself. When you stop performing and start living authentically, you naturally attract the abundance, the love, the opportunities, the success that's meant for you. This card is also about taking care of yourself and others from a full cup. The Queen of Pentacles knows she can't pour from an empty vessel, so she prioritizes her own nourishment, her own rest, her own pleasure. The energetic surrender here is letting go of the belief that self-care is selfish or that you have to earn the right to rest. You surrender to the truth that you are worthy of abundance and care simply because you exist. What's really special about ending with the Queen of Pentacles is that she shows you the destination of this surrender journey. She's calm, she's centered, she's abundant, she's connected to both earth and spirit. She's nurturing and nurtured, she's powerful without being forceful. This is the energy you're growing into when you practice surrender. This is who you become when you finally let go. So Aries, looking at this whole reading, the universe is really clearly telling you that the power of energetic surrender isn't about giving up or becoming passive. It's about releasing the exhausting need to control every outcome, to force every door open, to make everything happen through sheer will. You're being invited into a new way of being where you trust your intuition, where you allow things to unfold naturally, where you work with divine timing instead of against it. The cards are showing me that surrender leads to celebration, to clarity, to powerful leadership, to much-needed rest, to transformation, to spiritual awakening, to authenticity, to patience that pays off, and ultimately to grounded abundance. Everything you've been trying to force, your way to is actually waiting for you on the other side of letting go. I know this might feel scary or uncomfortable, because your Aries energy wants to charge ahead and make things happen. But I'm seeing that you're being asked to balance that fire with trust, that action with allowing, that doing with being. You don't have to stop being yourself or stop pursuing your goals. You just have to do it from a different energy, from a place of surrender rather than control. The universe has your back. Your intuition knows the way. Your dreams are safe. Your heart is guiding you correctly. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust that when you finally release that death grip on how you think everything should go, life will surprise you with something even better than you imagined.